If you're looking for the perfect book to read, Bookoo Books has exactly what you need. If you don't know where to look, choose Bookoo Books.
So I'm actually doing something that I have never done, and do a get unready with me, and I am going to do my night care skin routine while I review a book. It is currently unreleased. I think it comes out in January. It is called Oxford Blood by Rachel Davis Featherstone. I'm sort of just gonna get ready and let you know my thoughts on it as we go along. Okay, so just a little background. My favorite book of all time is Babel by R.F. Kuang. And if you know about that book, you know that it takes place at Oxford University. It is a historical fiction piece and it is social commentary, right? And so when looking at like different books that I wanted to review and stuff, Oxford Blood came up and I was like, whoa, it takes place at Oxford University. It's a thriller. I love this. This is like up my alley. I should start washing my face. So anyway, Oxford Blood is about a girl named Ava. I think it's Ava. If Eva, I'm not sure how to pronounce it, but I've been saying Ava. I think that's because I watched Freedom Writers one too many times. She and her boyfriend, sort of like a secret or like low-key relationship, which is also her best friend. They really want to go to Oxford University, super, difficult to get into. And so they go to Oxford for interview weekend or interview week. And so you go and you have your interviews. And during this time while she's there, her friend George gets murdered. Well, boyfriend. And so she has to figure out like who did it before the week is over, before she goes home from interview. Now, on the surface, I feel like I would like it. I feel like this is right up my alley. But the more I got into it, the more difficult it was for me to read. I actually am a teacher, I'm a middle school teacher, and so YA stuff, especially younger-ish YA stuff, I actually read a lot of to give my students recommendations. All right, so I thought I would like it. I thought I would enjoy it. I just feel like there were some things that were a little distracting for me, and I feel like for a lot of people, especially younger audiences, it wouldn't be as distracting. So that may just be a me thing. But first, when I was reading, I felt like while I was reading, I felt like it was a little confusing at first. Like, I wasn't sure if her dad was an actor or if he's actually a detective or what. And I think my conclusion was that he's a detective who has like a nonfiction TV show or whatever. And so that was my understanding. So anyway, so she has like a lot of background knowledge and stuff like that on like the criminal justice system, but she's dumb. Like she just doesn't know about the criminal justice system that much. And it's a little, I guess different for me because I don't live in the UK. I don't really understand their criminal justice system entirely, but I feel like it may be similar to ours, at least a little bit. And so we are actually going to do a gleaming face mask, vitamin C treatment mask. I saw this on Instagram years ago, and it's just been a staple ever since. But she just kept making dumb mistakes that I feel like anyone would know. And I kept thinking back to like, all right, think about, high school Kelsey, like would I've known this? And the answer is yes. Like these are all things that she should know, especially if she makes this big deal about her dad being a detective. She should know these things. And I'm not gonna get too specific because I don't want to ruin the book for you if you actually read it. But there's so many things where I'm like, what is she doing? Like this is not the best response. But I will say that the author builds suspense really well. I just think that she like undershoots it, or undermines it, or underwrites it. What is the word I'm looking for? I don't know. She ruins it. Because the foreshadowing is just so heavy. Like even if she's like trying to mislead you and do a misdirect, it's just not even fun because it's just so obvious. Like it's so obvious that's what you're doing. And like it's almost like he knew what really was going on. It's like, okay, sis, like you didn't have to do that. And she does it so often. It's like girl, I know you're a better writer than this. I know you are. But it just seems like that she's not when she does that stuff. You know what I'm saying? All right, so I'm back. I washed my face off, and now we're gonna do some serum. Sorry, something's on my eye. So I'm gonna go in with the cotton round and the Ordinary's glycolic acid. Boop, boop. So something that also annoyed me was the use of social media. Oh, I still got something. Whatever. I am a girly that actually doesn't like historical fiction. I know I said I like Babel. That was like anomaly, but I don't like historical fiction, but I also, which is actually worse than historical fiction, is when they bring social media into it, especially when they make up social media platforms. And I know like what the social media platform they were using is sort of like I think it was called Yak back in the day, or mixed between that, Reddit, and like Citizens app or something. But anyway, I did not really like that. I also felt like the story was very predictable. Like I felt where she would try to make me think this, try to make me go this way, and some stuff was just really unnecessary. So like I said, for me, because like I pick up on foreshadowing so easily, like foreshadowing is my thing. Like any literary device, figurative language, any of that, like out of all of it, foreshadowing is the thing I think I love the most and appreciate the most. So I'm always on the lookout for it. Like a plot twist is, hard to miss with me. Sometimes like if I miss it, those are the books or movies or whatever that I really appreciate. But this wasn't that for me. And maybe, like I said, maybe that was just me thing. But I will say some things that I really did appreciate was like the diverse cast. I feel like they did a good job of like really discussing some societal topics or like current events that are coming up. And not, like I said, I don't know about England or anything going on over there, but like for me, Christopher Columbus statues, things like that, that's very topical. And I feel like they did that. They talked about things that are relevant and transparently I've not really seen discussed in a fiction story before. So this is The Ordinary Niacinamide. Okay. So I thought that was cool. And that mixed with the diverse um, characters, even though some were like very stock characters, very much archetypes, I just felt, you know, I liked them. I enjoyed the characters for the most part. So something that I think also worked well was the use of the academic setting. I feel like, in Babel, I got a picture of Oxford that was definitely like historical, that sort of thing. But I also feel like, yeah, we're gonna do that. But I feel like overall, it was a very like good entry level book for young students that are looking to amp up the stakes a little bit. I feel like for young readers, it's kind of hard to find books that talk about things they're interested in, but also aren't condescending in the way they talk about it, but also elevated. I think this does a good job at like the topic is something that middle age young adults would love to read while also not being too dense or too the diction is not too elevated for them. So I actually really love that. I do think that it does lean on a lot of like tell instead of show. You want, to lead readers instead of descriptive piece. And like I said, the foreshadowing was a little too heavy handed for me, or when the author was trying to lead me in one direction or another, which is too heavy handed for me. But like I said, for younger readers, that may be really good, especially if this is their first real introduction to like foreshadow or like questioning, narrator's reliability. I think this would be a really good introduction for that. I will say that it was very fast paced though with everything. Like I don't feel like it drug on too much. I did take a break a little bit, just because I wanted something a little more adult at the time. But I went back to this, and I do think that it did a really good job at pacing. Going back to the point that I also said about the cast being, or the not the cast, the characters being sort of like archetypes and stock characters, I do think that's a little helpful because there are a lot of characters, and I'm not one to follow like characters, especially like people who are interviewing there, whether they're from one school or from another, or from they're already at Oxford or they're a student at Oxford. I think it was really helpful actually to have some of the archetypes to remember who's who. Oh, this person has this hair. Oh, this person acts like this. So this person's scared of this person. Because of the archetypes that they have. I think that was actually really good. I think the story overall covers a lot of themes of like elitism and academia and like who's allowed access to what based on, you know, nepotism or actual merit. This story really tackles those themes in a really good way, and that's very helpful to have so many different characters because each one has their own real like experience with, you know, privilege in the story. So it's really interesting to see how they all play out, and you know how the author really communicates what she's trying to say about privilege. Overall, if you know there is a young reader who is interested in ramping things up or wants to get into dark academia, like a really young, well, not really young, but like a young student who loves school and loves thrillers and things like that, I think this would be really interesting for them. I think that it was also really interesting as an American to read this. I think I'm really interested to see what other populations will say, especially in the UK, who may have, you know, closer ties to how the school system works there or Oxford in general. Um, but young readers, middle-aged readers, people that are really just diving into, you know, stepping out of the kiddie genres. Of like in my head would be like the Captain Underpants or those sort of books. I think this is a nice step up from that, which is nice for, you know, middle age, 8th grade, 9th grade, 7th grade, that sort of age range as they're sort of transitioning to more mature text in writing while still focusing on themes that, you know, are a little heavier. Overall for me, I would say like a 2.5 out of 5 stars, but I could see this for younger readers definitely being 3.5, maybe even a 4 star for them. But for me, I just don't think I would pick this up again. However, I actually may recommend this to some of my students. I just didn't enjoy it too much, but it wasn't terrible. So I'm glad I read it. I'm just really strict. I know I'm strict. I know I'm strict. But this is my first time really doing a video review, so I'm not sure how I'm gonna go about this, if I'm gonna write it out too or just post a video. I don't know. I'm just trying to be more consistent. Since the wedding is over, I can sort of focus a little more on this, on my dissertation, all those wonderful things. So I'm able to look at all the videos that I recorded and maybe even post a couple soon. I just don't like editing, and I actually have a lot of content that I recorded, especially like over the summer. Was it over summer? Yeah, I guess it was over summer. I went on a book crawl that was really fun, and a couple other pieces that, you know, I want to post and get out there. So we will see. We'll see what's in for. So anyway, ready for bed now. All good. Skin's glowing. So that's that. We'll see about some other book reviews coming up soon. Bye!